Weekdays at 10 on News Channel 6. Right now on News Channel 6 at 5, major cleanup efforts underway after a train derails in Midville, Georgia. Details straight ahead.
Plus, 4 weeks have passed, yet Keith Styberski is still missing. We'll bring you the latest on his disappearance.
And commissioners hearing complaints about a track in Augusta. Details as Your News at 5 starts now. Live from Television Park, this is Wjbf News Channel 6 at 5.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jenny Montgomery. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Brad Means. We begin with a developing story we've been on all day out of Burke County, Georgia.
Emergency crews working a train derailment. This happened about 3 o'clock this morning, about a half mile from Midville's crossing going toward Jenkins County. The folks on scene say it was not carrying any hazardous material and about 35 cars were involved. No injuries have been reported. An arrest has been made after a deadly crash involving a high-speed chase with a Richmond County Sheriff's deputy. James charges to include DUI, driving on the wrong side of the road, murder, and vehicular homicide. The chase happened Friday on Old Savannah Road at Roussel Street. 28-year-old Brian Heath was killed when he was hit by Thurman while in pursuit with the deputy. Heath died at the scene. Georgia State Patrol is investigating.
Another arrest has been made after a shooting in Richmond County. Jerome Fitzgerald out of Lithonia Springs, Georgia, will be charged once he gets out of the hospital. Deputies say he shot a man at the Hampton Inn on Timber Creek Lane Saturday. That's just off Gordon Highway. The victim treated at the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries.
One person is dead after a crash in Augusta. It happened on Peach Orchard Road after a vehicle and a dirt bike collided. The person driving the dirt bike was taken to the hospital and died from his injuries. The investigation into the crash is still ongoing. The victim's identity has not been released.
Police in Rennes working a lot of investigations these days, most of them involving young people in an apartment complex. Here are just a few. Officers say they found a couple of guns and a large amount of drugs after a recent fight. They say 2 people were arrested on felony charges after one of them tried to pull a gun from a backpack, and a woman stabbed at a party in Stapleton, as well as a woman out of Pine Valley getting arrested on felony murder charges down in Savannah. After all this, police say they're working with school leaders and the Department of Juvenile Justice to deal with these issues.
Richmond County investigators need your help finding a missing man. 72-year-old Eddie Ruffin was last seen walking in the Castle Pines subdivision near the mailboxes Saturday around 4 p.m. Ruffin is known to frequent the Food Lion at Tobacco Road and Highway 56. Anyone with information about him should contact law enforcement. Police are also looking for 13-year-old Ileana Velez. The teen was last seen at Tutt Middle School Friday evening. If you have any information on the disappearance of Ruffin or Velez, call police.
A mother pleading for her son's return after his disappearance now 4 weeks ago. News Channel 6's Renetta DuBose covering the search for Keith Styberski.
I know I tell him I love him, and I missed him, and I'm going to give him a big hug.
It's been more than 4 weeks since Sally Williams last spoke with her son, Keith Styberski. It was Sunday, July 24th, and she had been hospitalized.
I said, so when you get clap and see me? Well, I'm going to clap and see you this evening. And then he never showed up.
The 37-year-old Richmond County man still has not showed up home. Williams tells News Channel 6 he was seen by his ex-wife on Tuesday, July 26th. Then the next day, a strange turn of events. His vehicle hit by a train on Watkins Pond Road near Mike Paget Highway. His mother tells us the train conductor saw him walking in the area wearing just a pair of shorts and 1 shoe, claiming he'd just gone swimming. Williams says she suspects foul play.
I can't picture him going in those lakes with the alligators in there and snakes and all kinds of stuff. And it just wouldn't be like him to do that.
Williams shares that investigators with Richmond County do have some cell phone activity, but her son's location is still unknown. For now, she's remembering the good times and staying hopeful.
I really miss him. You know, and it's just, this is just almost too much for me to take.
The Burke County Sheriff's Office says they've searched the area on their side of the county line with family and friends, and they say they're willing to work with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office and do another search based on whatever information might come in. Authorities say Staberski was last seen on Mims Road.
The U.S. District Attorney's Office has requested that a motion by former Augusta Commissioner Sammy Sias for a new trial be dismissed. Last month, Sias was found guilty of destroying evidence and documents and then lying to federal agents about it. He filed a motion earlier this month requesting either a judgment, acquittal, or a court order granting a new trial, citing attorneys for the government misconstrued witness testimony, or misconstrued rather. A judge has not yet ruled on the response. A hearing is set for tomorrow. It is time now for a first check of the forecast.
Now, typical summertime pattern for at least a day or so. Then we'll get into some changes. We'll talk more about that in detail in just a little bit. Chevy Brent.
Tim, thanks. Family, friends, and the rest of the community coming together over the weekend for a benefit concert as they continue to search for answers after 4-year-old Izzy Scott drowned. It happened during swimming lessons more than 3 months ago. In addition to creating the Israel Scott Foundation, the family is calling for a law named for the child to bring stricter regulations for swim lessons.
Definitely a need for it. And it took a tragic situation as such to happen, but we're here, and I feel like it should not go further. I feel like it needs to start now. Laws need to be in place.
The GBI now handling the case. Right now, Georgia does not have laws addressing swim lessons in private pools, just regulations for lessons at schools and daycares.
Problems at a city park are proving costly for an Augusta racing group. For more than 20 years, the Augusta Remote Control Supercross has been holding remote control car races at their track at Bayville Park. But the park no longer has any power, and without that, the RC track is unable to hold large events that bring in the crowds.
They had shut off the lighting, so that took out all of our big events. We were bringing in about 6 big events throughout the year, along with we'd race 2 times a month for like locals, and then throughout the year we'd bring in 6 big events. That cut out all our big events.
Davis is scheduled to appear before commissioners on Tuesday. He says the group is asking for $25,000 to get the power restored.
Well, Augusta, Georgia may be known around the world as a hub for cyber, but a Georgia lawmaker says the field needs more workers. Here's News Channel 6's Renetta Dubose.
The cyber threats, things like that. And of course, they're also doing other services for corporations all over the country.
The need to fight the country's enemy online keeps growing.
At one time, we were at Fort Gordon, they're getting 1 million hits a day. And these aren't our friends, they're adversaries. And and you got all the trolls out there. We don't know where those people are. So it's a real problem. And everybody needs to tighten up security. Colonial Pipeline, they only had 1 code to get in there.
And those who can do the job go to work for Unisys. But after a tour and conversation in the facility restricted to our cameras, Congressman Rick Allen says a workforce is needed.
They're talking about they need to hire 150 more technicians. And so they were asking me, where do we get them?
And the solution, he says, depends on his colleagues in Washington.
We've got to look at merit-based immigration reform. We have over 1 million students that get student visas here in this country every year, and then they go back home. And these are very bright STEM graduates that we could use right here with a temporary work permit, for example.
Allen says leaders at Unisys have a job to do too, recruiting people locally.
And what I've asked them to do is to get involved both in the technical schools and in the high schools. We got A.R. Johnson right here at the STEM school.
In Augusta, Renetta Dubose, WJBF News Channel 6.
SpaceX and T-Mobile are teaming up on a plan to get cell phone service into more remote areas. The companies say SpaceX Starlink satellites will be used to connect T-Mobile customers who have traveled to spots without traditional cell service. T-Mobile will enter a testing phase in late 2023 with Elon Musk's Starlink for messaging and texting apps.
Coming up, a highly anticipated launch has been scrubbed.
We'll show you what was the cause when we come back.
Thank you, Tim. Good part of Jackson, Mississippi is bracing for major flooding as the city's Pearl River overflows. It could crest today.
Yeah, almost 20 feet above flood state. As many as 150 houses are expected to be partially underwater by the end of the day. Jackson is still recovering from a flood from 2 years ago. The city's northeast side got the worst of it then, and it's expected to be the hardest hit this time too. Local authorities are urging people to evacuate their homes and find safe ground.
I've already received calls from individuals wondering or questioning whether they should get out now. If you are capable of getting out now, get out now. Get out as soon as possible.
Still ahead, we're going to meet our latest Giving Your Best winner.
Why her kind gesture for cancer patients got our attention. Stay with us for the story.
For tickets, visit etheridge.usca.edu or call 803-641-3305.
Cancer can have an impact on more than the patient, and in this case, it prompted a daughter-in-law to honor her loved one by spreading a little joy. It was a card-writing campaign that morphed into something much bigger. And in the end, Ashley Gross believes she benefited more than those she wanted to encourage, and that's why she's this month's Giving Your Best winner.
And it just spiraled. It spiraled, and I'm an emotional person, so I cried for like a week.
A recent cancer diagnosis in her mother-in-law gave Ashley Gross a deep compassion for patients undergoing chemotherapy.
The fact that she wanted to do something special to honor somebody special to her who had had a recent cancer diagnosis, and then just spread that love to complete strangers, with no thanks needed. It's humbling to see.
And that's the great thing about it. When you do put yourself out there.
Ashley organized a Valentine card campaign so each patient would receive a personalized card and words of encouragement from a stranger, but it turned into so much more.
But also we had enough to supply goodie bags for all of those people. So when they came in to get chemo the week of Valentine's Day, they were presented with a goodie bag, and it was full of little crossword books and pens and candies and just things that they need or they might want while they're there. So it was definitely, it blew me away, the amount of support that just came in from absolutely everybody.
And we all need to hear that. I mean, particularly these days, we need to hear that if you just put yourself out there, you're going to benefit so much more. And that's the great story of this. And I saw how it impacted Ashley, and that's what moved me to write the letter.
Like, I just wanted them to smile. I mean, that's the worst thing. It's the worst thing they can go through.
Do you know someone who deserves the Giving Your Best award? Nominate them on our Facebook page or send a letter to the address you see on your screen. Archith and Dee will be back after the break for News Channel 6 at 5:30. It's the